let's try it out, see if it works. Come on. Let's go. Hello everyone, I'm Landon Schlungen. Today we are going to do the exercise tracker. This is part of the backend development and APIs project portion of FreeCodeCamp. And if we look into this, we can start our project with REPL.it. It's supposed to be functionally similar to this project right here, where we can create a new user. In this case, I'll name myself Landon and submit, and then we can take our ID that's generated and then post it for the exercises, add a description like I ran for 30 minutes and it was on 2023 on the 13th, and submit that, and then we get back Landon ran at that date. And then we can also check out my logs. So if I go to /API/users, I think it's /API/users, and then my ID/logs. Okay, so I go my ID, which I think that's my ID, and then I go /logs. Then we get my username, and then also the one exercise I did. If I posted more exercises, they would be listed here, and I would have more count for that. All right, so let's get started with this. We can use the REPL starter project to get started and import it from GitHub. Yes. All right, it takes a little while to import. All right, here we go. It's done importing. And if we take a look at our package.json file, all we have is .env, express, and cores. We're going to need both MongoDB and Mongoose for this one. Since this one has a little bit more structure, we're going to use Mongoose to help us out with that. In order to get those installed, we can open up our shell and go npm i mongodb and do Mongoose at the same time. Why not? There we go. Now those two will install their latest versions for us, which is pretty awesome. And then in order to use them, we also have to connect to our MongoDB cloud. And in this case, we have to go to our database and then connect to it. So we go to connect, grab this connection string right here, and we're going to use this as a secret. So in your case, just copy that and go to our project again. And this is just saying I need to upgrade my npm version, but it still installed it correctly. And we can find that in secrets and add a key. In my case, I'm going to call it db_url, and then we paste in that connection string value. And we have to put in our password, and also this / here, we can have that as exercise tracker. And that will just say what database it is. And I'm actually going to use a underscore there. Okay, yeah. Exercise tracker, and then our password. I'm going to put my password in. And then we can go back to index.js, and we can try and connect to our database. So let's do that. All right. First thing we have to do is get Mongoose. So get Mongoose with const mongoose equals require mongoose. Mongoose. All right, beautiful. Next thing we have to do is do mongoose.connect, mongoose.connect, and we can grab our URL by doing process.env.db URL. It has to be the same key as whatever this db URL portion is right there. So that will hopefully connect correctly. Hopefully our password is correct. And to use the schema portion of Mongoose, we're going to also get schema out here. So we're going to go schema, and this equals Mongoose. Mongoose. All right, so we're grabbing schema out of Mongoose in order to use it. And then we're going to create our schemas. So the first schema we create is a user schema. And we do that with this right here. I have some cheaty notes. All right, so user schema, new schema. This user only has a username and an ID. The ID gets created automatically by MongoDB, so we don't have to add that in. And then the next document or schema that we need is the exercise. So I'm going to grab the exercise schema, and that's going to look something like this, where we have a user ID, description, duration, and date. And then in order to actually use that schema, we have to make it into a model. And we do mongoose.model exercise and pass in that exercise schema to that to create the model. All right. So now we can use these and actually post some stuff to them and save some data. All right. So they don't give us any hints here. If we look at what we have to do, we have to go to post/API/users. So that's going to be our first route. We'll do app.get or app.post, app.post to /API/users, right? And then do rec and res for request response. Okay, open that up. And now inside of here, we have to, out of our request, we have to get the username. But in order to get the request body, we first have to add a middleware in order to get that. And that's done by doing app.use express.url encoded of extended true. Okay, so that should allow us to grab our body of our request, and just to make sure, we can do console.log of request.body and see what comes through, and just respond with res.json of hi or hey, hi. Sure. Let's try running this quick, and I can open this back up here, and hopefully it will open up somewhere. Where does it open up? I'm not really sure. Oh, here we go, web view, awesome. And then if I post a user, then I get hey, hi, and I also get my username of Landesschlangen that I put in there. Awesome. Okay, so that does work. Gets it out of the body. And then we can use that to actually store in the database. So what we're going to do is do const user object equals new user. And this new user has a username that is equal to rec.body.username, like so. And then we can save them by doing a const user equals await user object dot save. We actually have to await this as well. So since we're awaiting inside of here, we have to make this an async function. So it's going to wait for it to save, and then it's going to move on. That's what the await does. All right. And in order to catch errors, we can actually throw this into a try catch block. So I'm going to do that quick. I'm going to do try catch the error. If there's an error, I'm going to just console.log that error just to see what's going on. And then this user part is going to go in the try block, like so. Awesome. All right. And then we can also console.log the user as well, because why not? And then res.json respond with the user object, like so. Okay. So now if I stop and save this or run it, I also should get rid of this and try that again. All right, let's see if we get what we need back. I should actually open up this in a new tab. Let's try Landesschlangen, submit that, and here we go. We get our username and our ID, and also it should be put into our database. So if I go to Browse Collections, I see Exercise Tracker here, I see Users, and here's my user, Landesschlangen, and the same ID as what showed up. Okay. Now we successfully did this post portion. The next thing we have to do is do this post to API/users ID exercises. That will actually add an exercise to that user. Okay. So to do that, it's another post request. We can do app.post to /API/users/ :_ID, and then /exercises. Okay, and then grab the request response out of there. Actually, make this bigger for now. Request response. And open up that function. And then we can grab the ID from the params. So we're going to do const ID equals rec.params._ID to grab that. And we're going to do const description, and we're going to grab this stuff out of the body of the request. So we're going to go duration and date. And this is going to equal rec.body. So we'll grab that out of the body. And then we're going to wrap all this stuff in a try catch block. So let's frame that out here. Catch the error. Okay. And then inside the try block, we're going to do all of our stuff. So const user equals await user dot find by ID. And then we're going to pass the ID in for that. So it's going to find the user based on this ID. In the case of Landon, if I take my ID, copy it, and then paste it there, then it should grab my user. And then that user object will say username of Landon Schlungen and have an ID that's set to that ID. Okay, so that's what that should look like. And then we can say if no user, then we know that that was a bad ID. And we can say res.send could not find user. Beautiful. And then otherwise, we know that that user was valid, and we can do something else. And in this case, we're going to actually add that exercise and save it. So we're going to do const exercise object equals await exercise await. Never mind, not await. It equals a new exercise. So our exercise object equals a new exercise. And inside this exercise object, we have a user ID, which is the user._ID. We have a description, which we can just leave as description, and duration. And we also have a date, which if there is a date, then we have to add that date as a new date and pass in the date. Otherwise, if there isn't a date, then we just use today's date, and we can find today's date by leaving it empty like so. All right. And then once we have this exercise object, we can save this exercise object with save. So we're going to do const exercise equals exercise object dot save with parentheses, but we also have to await this. It takes a little bit of time to save it. Okay. And we also, since we're waiting inside of this block, we have to make sure this function is async. Otherwise it will break. Okay. Now we can respond in kind with our findings and say that we successfully saved our exercise. In this case, we need an ID, which is going to be the user ID, user._ID. We have the username, which is the user.username. We have the description, which is the exercise.description. We have the duration, which is the exercise.duration. We have the date, which is the new date of the exercise.date, and .toDate string. There we go. All right, so what we're doing is we're saving it, and then whatever is returned, that's what we're responding with. You might be confused by this date part. It's because we actually have to format it differently. And in that case, we have to turn it into a date object first, and then we can format it how we like. Okay. Inside the catch, if there's an error, I'm just going to console the error out so that I know what's going on. And then we also want to send to the user, like there was an error saving the exercise. There was an error saving the exercise. Like so. All right. So now if I stop and run this, let's see if all this works. I have hope, but you know, I might have mistyped something. If I open up my document here, or go back, and I should put in someone else here. I'll put in Dom, submit that, and then I grab my ID. Let me double click, save, or copy that. Go back, paste in the ID. Let's put in a description of run for 30 minutes on this date, submit it, and there we go. We have Dom. It looks like he got submitted correctly, And we can check that inside of our database by refreshing, or actually just going to exercises, and it should load. There we go. We see the user ID. That's probably Dominic's user ID, or Dom. And he ran for 30 minutes on March 13th. Awesome. Okay, so that post works epically. Okay, awesome. The next thing we need to do, and if we want to test, we can always put in our solution link and see it go through the tests. And I know for a fact it's not going to pass them all because we still have to do the logs. All right, so, and another thing we have to do is get/API/users to get a list of all users. So we'll actually work on that one now. It's pretty simple. And I actually put that one at the top because it's so simple. It's actually just an app.get up to /API/users. And then we can do our async recres. Open that up, and then it's pretty simple. I'm just going to copy it over because it's so simple. All we have to do is user.find, have it empty, select the ID and username, and then if there's no users, we say no users. Otherwise, we respond in kind with our users objects, or our users array, which is what's going to be responded with after this. So now if I do that, let's stop and start it. And I go back to my document here, and I do /API/users. I see my two users, which is me and Dom. Awesome. Okay, so that one's pretty simple. The hard one is the logs, okay? So if I go back here, the logs have to do a bunch of stuff. /API/users to logs. That's the request we need, so let me copy that. And I go back here. Let's do this app.get. All right. So this is gonna be quite big. So get ready for that. App.get to /API/users/ID/logs, and it we have our recres afterwards. Like always, open that up. And then we have to grab stuff out of the query, because if you read this stuff down here, it does question mark, from, to, and limit. We get that out of the rec.query. Rec.query. Yeah, awesome. Okay. So we can do that by doing const from, to, and limit equals rec.query. All right, so that'll grab those values. And then we can grab the ID from the params. So const ID equals rec.params dot underscore ID. Cool. And then we can grab our user, const user equals await user.find by ID. Sweet. And since we're using await, we have to make it async once again. And then now that we have our user, we can check to make sure that we have a user. And then if there's no user, we just do res.send. Could not find user. Could not find user. And then I'm just going to return out of that so that we don't send more than one thing. And then we're going to create our date object in order to do our filtering. Okay. So we have to build this query with this from, to, and limit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first make a date object. And then this date object, we're going to say if we have a from, then we're going to add it to our date object as something that looks like this. Date object $, greater than or equal to. And then that equals new date with the from in there. Okay, so that'll make a new date with a greater than thing, greater than key. And then if we have a 2, it's basically the same thing. Date object, except this time less than. So $ less than LTE equals new date 2. Beautiful. And then we're going to say let filter equal user ID of ID. And then also we're going to say if we have a from or a to, portion of the query. Then we're going to add the date object onto that filter. So we're going to do filter.date equals date object. Awesome. And now we can actually do our beautiful search through our database. Okay. So now const exercises equals await exercise dot find. And what are we going to find based on? We're going to find based on the filter that we created. And then we're going to also add a limit. The limit is going to be plus limit. The limit is right here. It's going to be a string. We're just going to parse it by adding a plus there. And then if it's null, we're going to say 500 as the limit. And then we can res.json this stuff. Res.json. What do we have to respond with? Well, something that looks like this. The log has to look like this. Username, count, ID, log with the description, duration, and date. So that's the format we're going for. The first thing is the username, and that's pretty easy. We got that already with the user. So user.username for that. For the count, we have to add up our exercises. So we can do exercises.length to find the count. For the ID, that's just the user ID. So we can do user._ID. And then we have our log. In order to create the log, I actually have to map this so that the keys are different and so that it's actually formatted correctly. So to do that, I'm going to do const log equals exercises dot map. And I'm going to map each exercise. And then we're going to return a description, which is e.description. We're going to get the duration, which is e.duration. But the tricky one is the date. So for date, we have to make sure it's e.date.toDateString in order to make it into the correct format. All right. And that should be good. Yeah. I'm actually surprised I didn't do new date, e.date. I'm surprised that worked. But now we have our log and we can just pass in log like that and it should work. All right, so let's try this route out. Let's stop and start it. See if it works. All right, if I go to this thing here and I go /API/users and I put in Dom here because I know he has one. And I do, actually, what is the route again? I forgot. /users ID logs. Okay. I go back here, users ID, then /logs. Let's see what we get. Oh, and it looks like it works. Awesome. And then also if we add filters like the query of question mark, and we add, from equals, and we add a date like 2023 13, or actually it would be 03 then 10, and then we hit enter. Since this comes after that, that should work, 13th. But let's say I do 14 here. Let's make it 14. Then that log doesn't show up because we filter it out. So that's how we know that that's working. Awesome. So now it should pass all the tests. And yeah, hopefully it does. Let's grab our beautiful REPL boilerplate project and go to FreeCodeCamp and paste in our solution link. And let's try it out, see if it works. Come on. Let's go. First try. I'm actually so surprised I got that first try. I mean, I do have a cheat sheet, so again, it actually took me a while the first time. This is actually like my third time. So take that for what it is. I think the thing that was messing me up so much was when I create the exercise, this date portion right here. If the date isn't passed in, I need to make sure that to add the date as current. If you mess up this line, like 10 of them don't pass, and it's just super confusing to figure out which one it was that you messed up on. I would go and try and figure out what you messed up on the first one that doesn't pass. So if, let's say, this one doesn't pass, then it's probably a problem with the first one that didn't pass. If it's a problem, you know, if this one doesn't pass and a bunch of these don't pass, don't check these ones before you check the first one, okay? That's my advice there. And yeah, we got it done. Awesome. In order to get it on GitHub, we can check our files. So show hidden files. We have this .git. That's actually their GitHub repo, and we want to put it on our own. In order to put it on our own, we have to, well, first of all, make our own GitHub repo. So in my case, I'm going to go to GitHub and create a repo quick. We're going to call FCC exercise tracker. Beautiful. Let's create this repo. And then I'm going to, I should actually grab this commit as well. Yeah. I'm going to copy these 3 lines, go back to my shell, and then inside my shell, I can, well, first of all, we have to get rid of this .git and then add our own. So I'm going to delete that .git, and I'm going to do git init myself. And then that .git should reappear again. I guess I have to show it again. Git init. I did that right? Where is it? What? Should show up. Hide hidden files. Show hidden files. Where is it? Okay, I thought a .git would show up. It says it did. Git init. Reinitialized. Okay, I'm just going to trust that it's there. Okay. And then I'm going to paste in these 3 lines. I can do that with, I actually have to right click and paste it in. Okay. Git commit, that didn't work. Awesome. But I can add the remote origin. I just have to first do my email and name. So I'm going to do that quick. All right, now I should be able to do this git commit part. And I can actually copy that from GitHub, because why not? Actually, I need to also do git add all first. So let's go back and do git add all, git add dot, and then I can paste those 2 lines in with paste. There we go. Git commit, and I can git branch main, clear again, and push it up. So git push -u origin main, and confirm for the session. Awesome. Now go to GitHub, refresh the page, and we have all our code on GitHub now. Awesome. Let's go. And just to show that, we can go into the index.js file, and there's all of the code that we just wrote. Beautiful. And now we can take this and submit this as well with our project. Go to FreeCodeCamp, paste in the GitHub link, and say we've completed it again, because why not? Takes a little while to run the tests, but... Oh, and now this one doesn't pass. Awesome. Great. That is so odd. I'm not crazy, right? It passed the first time. Anyway, one last look at the code. It was a little bit more exciting, I guess. If you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and give the video comments. I read all the comments. And thank you for watching. Have a great day, and goodbye. See ya.